Okay, for those who don't have the PDFs for today's lesson, I'm going to insert my email and email me and I will send them to you. Today we're working with Gary Chaffee and Stone. Here's my email. Okay, so you're here, get in the chat, let me know who you are. And we're going to be working with the pattern series from Gary Chaffee, Time Functions. And I want to go over some cymbal patterns he suggests to use, and some possibilities for the bass drum, and some ostinatos themselves. So, let's talk about the cymbal ostinato. And usually if you're right-handed, you're using it with your right hand. If you're left-handed, it's your left-handed. I try to play open-handed, and I'm going to give you some possibilities of his cymbal patterns. Now, the first cymbal pattern he plays, he doesn't play it on the ride cymbal, he plays it on the hi-hat. You can play it here. Straight eighth notes. So let's just try it first on the ride cymbal. Now, when I play eighth notes in this kind of situation, I kind of push the 1, 2, 3, 4. So with my right hand, there is a level that's happening. That's a downstroke and an upstroke. And that's being very technical. I'm not playing. That doesn't sound very musical because it just sounds like straight eighth notes on one surface. You want to make two different sounds there. So I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, something I would recommend when counting this for this kind of situation, I would maintain a 16th note count first, because when we get to the bass drum parts, there's a whole thing of various 16th notes in and out of the eighth note. So get used to counting 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. So that's your first pattern. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. Now I could take that right hand and play it on my hi-hat, which is a standard thing, 1 and again. Now I'm being mechanical. It looks like I'm being a robot, and it's all coming from the wrist, which it does. But when I play up tempo, I'm relaxing my arm, my shoulder, my elbow, and my wrist. So I'm getting 1E and a 2E and 3E. That's what's occurring. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Or left-handed, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? So that takes care of the first possibility. The second one is just quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 4. 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 4. And now we go to straight 16ths. I like to play the 16ths on the hi-hat, 1E and a 2. And again, 3E and a 4E and a. I'm getting that push on the count of 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 1E and a 2E and a 3. Now I'm playing it slow, and it looks like, again, being a robot. But what I'm trying to put across is what is occurring with your hand to maintain that sound. I'm not going to pound the hi-hat like 1E and a 2. That sounds terrible. So I'm coming down. That's what the stick is doing. It's coming down, tap, tap, up. Now I play it up a little bit, and that's still there, but I'm inside of the feel. 1E and a 2. Look at my. So relax. And you could also play it on the ride cymbal. So that takes care of eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Takes care of the quarter notes. 1E and the 2E and the 3 and the 4. 1E and the 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, after the 16ths, that's 1E and the 2E and the, we have the upbeats. 1E and the 2 and 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 4E and now I'm going to see how far I can get inside of this time frame of a half hour to 45 minutes of eighth notes, quarter notes, 16th notes, and the upbeat, the end. So we'll continue on this. We have actually every lesson. We're going to just go further and further. If you look at sheet number 2. Now, what I like to bring out as well is, your ability to read. You might be a seasoned player, you play everything by ear, and I have to admit there's certain things that I play by feel and ear only because it's so difficult to read because, a grouping of 5 quarter notes as opposed to quarter note triplets inside of 6/8, it drives you crazy. So you sort of feel those things. But now, this is a very basic kind of thing. If you look at the second sheet, or if you look at Gary Shafee's patterns book, if you have that, you'll see he has possibilities. The backbeat on 2 and 4, and the quarter note on the first one is going to be on 1 and 3. Now, if you don't know how to read, learn. I'm trying to do a series of learn how to read. And a lot of guys compare, well, Buddy Rich didn't read, Dennis Chambers don't read. So what? You're not Buddy Rich, you're not Dennis Chambers. You're trying to go forward and learn everything about rhythm that you can possibly learn and more. Okay? So let's go to the snare and foot patterns. Now, there's nothing really to worry about with the snare pattern. The snare pattern is going to be on the count of 2 and 4 constantly. What's going to change is the bass drum. So I'm counting now. Remember I said the count in 16ths. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and every time I come to the count of 2 and every time I come to the count of 4, I'm hitting a backbeat. So I have 1E and 2E and 3E and 4. That's going to remain constant. Again, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and Now, let's take one of the possibilities, the cymbal pattern. I like to take this guy on to the hi-hat, okay? As opposed to, I'll demonstrate both, But let me start with the hi-hat. The first cymbal pattern is the eighth note, 1E and the 2. Again, it looks mechanical, but I'm showing you what's occurring. We're doing it slow. We're entering, we're dissecting this. 1E and the 2E and 3E and the 4 and. So we're dropping the 2 and the 4 all the time as a backbeat. Now you look at the first exercise, and if you have time functions, get it out, open it up. I forgot exactly what page. Sorry, the book's way over there. I'm not going to get up because I have my microphone hooked up. Okay, so the bass drum now is going to be on the count of 1 and 3. So now I'm playing eighth notes up here, 2 and 4 here. So now I have 1E and the 2E and 3E and the 4E and I'm going to play the bass drum now on the count of 1 and 3. 1E and nice and slow, so you can see it. 3E and the 4 and 1E and the 2 and 3E and the 4 and 1, 2, relax, 2 and 3E and the 4 and. Well, it depends on the tune, Randy. You know, the question is, do I recommend playing the rim on the backbeat? Well, it depends, you know, on the tune itself and what the other musicians would like to hear, or you're having a conversation with them. I like to get that solid, hard sound. Occasionally I'll miss, but I'm getting half the rim and half the drum at the same time. I'm not just playing the rim, I'm playing both. Gives that sharp, piercing sound. So now I have 1E and 2 and 3. The bass drum on 1 and 3. 1E and the 2 and 3. 4. Nice and relaxed. So I'm not burning here or demonstrating my abilities. I'm instructing and I'm showing you what is occurring. It does occasionally look mechanical, only because it's slow and I'm breaking it down. But if I 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at the right arm. It's nice and relaxed. Man, this thing is slippery today. I got some, not oil, I was using some kind of cream on my hand. Sorry. Oh. Don't use no cream before you play. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's half the rim, half the snare drum. Now if I get different sound. Okay, now that's right-handed, and I could play it on my ride cymbal. Again, it's down, up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Now, when I play that on the ride cymbal, there's a variety of options and effects that you can get with the hi-hat, the foot alone, right? But I'm not going to go there today because that's a whole separate kind of lesson in itself. So we're playing the eighth notes with the bass drum on 1 and 3, on the hi-hat right-handed, on the ride cymbal right-handed. Then you can go to the left-handed, open-handed. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if you have one of those cable hats, which I do, right-handed, it don't sound too good here. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Just have a little fun with it. Be creative. Okay, so that takes the eighth note pattern, which we do with the bass drum on 1 and 3. Now, there's the term, two terms, and it gets a little confusing. It's called a grid or permutate. Now, permutate means to move over one. So if I played my bass drum on the count of 1 and 3, I'm counting 16th notes. Now remember, 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 4E and the. And if I want to permutate or move over one, now my bass drum is going to be moved over one count on the E of 1 and the E of 3. So I'm going to have 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1 and 2E and 3E and 4E and get it? And again, you have this. Laying that down. 1E and 2 and 3E and 4 and that's the first, actually the first two in the book using that pattern, that hi-hat pattern. And I don't want to keep demonstrating the right hand and the left hand. You notice the game and play it. 1, 2, so on and so forth, all right? It's best to go back and forth like that because you're strengthening that left side. And I don't care who you are, including God. If you're right-handed, your left side is going to be weak. So you want to strengthen that side and equalize it. And that's the concept of, for example, the stick control book. The right side, your right hand, and your left hand want to become equalized in strength. That's one of the biggest objects of stick control. And now you want to apply that concept or that approach to the drum set. Your right hand lead, your left hand lead, so on and so forth. Okay, now we've permutated. Let me explain the grid. The grid comes in a little bit of a different form. If I was playing one measure of 16ths, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and I'm going to play 16ths on the hi-hat. One, no accent, just straight 16ths. It's not very musical, just one sound. 1E and E and 3E and 4E and Now I'm going to play one measure over and over again. The bass drum the first time is going to be on the 1. On the second beat, 2E and the bass drum is going to move to the E. Then on 3E and it's going to be on the and then 4E and is going to be on the duh. So what I did with the foot was move it over 1. That's the grid. Without the bass drum, without anything else, I'm just going to tap the sticks. I'm going to count and I'm going to tap the sticks. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1. Do we understand that, gentlemen? Yes? No? Hello? So now, I'm going to play the backbeat, and I'm going to play, and then the next move. We play it on the 1, and we play it on the E. At the downbeat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we play it on all the E's. Now we're going to play on the ands of 1 and the and of 3. So you have 1E and a 2. Randy, get that book, man. Time Functions by Gary Chaffee. It's his pattern series. Now we're going to the and. 1E and 2E and here we go. 1E and 2E and 3E and. Man, this grease is really screwy today. I'm sorry. Oh, it happens. Oh. I used to sandpaper my sticks a little bit so I get a better grip. But we don't need that. So now we're on the and of 1 and the and of 3. 1E and 2 and 3E and 4. 1E and 2 and 3E and 4. Then the da of 1 and the da of 3. 1E and 2E and 3E. Here you go. The da. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4 and 1E and 2 and 3E and 4 and. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that over and over again. I'm going to play the bass drum on the counts of 1 and 3 a few times, 2, 3, 4 times, who knows. And then I'm going to play the E's of 1 and the E of 3, then the and of 1 and the 3, da of 1, da of 3, over and over again. Just have a good time. Mix it up. It's 1 and 3 now. 3, 4. Just having a little fun. That's all. Okay? Now you can mix it up any way you'd like. I'm just going in the order in which Gary Shafee presented it. Now, after the duh, we come to another figure. 2/16 and an eighth note rest on the count of duh of 1. 2/16 notes and an eighth note rest on the count of 3. So I'm just going to play. I'm going to count the 16ths. Who do you hate? Me? Tim. How you doing, Tim? The sticks falling out of your hand, like, they feel like, I just have a little grease, not grease, but they were a little dry, so before the lesson, I kind of put a little cream on it. All right, now we're going to go to the counts on the count of 1 and 3. We have 2/16 notes and a 16th note rest. If you don't know how to read, learn. Learn how to read. Hello? What was that? Okay, 2/16 and an eighth note rest. I'm going to do the counting. Here we go. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. Okay, so now let's play just a simple pattern. I'm on the eighth notes. So you have 1E and 2 and 3, 4. So on and so forth. Okay, now the bass drum is going to fall on now the 1 and the 3 and against that pattern. 1E and the 2 and. Here we go again with this stick. Man, I got to wipe this off my hands. Hold on. Mercy. Okay. And the 1 and 3 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning, mix it up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you practice with a metronome and get all those particulars taken care of that you want the sound, controlling the sound, you're going to get that. Now, like I said, people get so confused. Well, you look like a robot. Nah, well, thank you. I'm not a robot. I'm an educator. And I'm trying to explain, well, I am explaining what occurs with the drumstick. Downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke when you're playing this pattern to get a certain effect. Now you have to remember the bass drum is the dominant voice inside of these particular exercises because you want to explode that bass drum, make it sound like a cannon. All right, and you want to tweak the right hand and the backbeat. You want that, like Randy had suggested, am I hitting the rim on the backbeat or just the snare? Well, like I said, it depends on the tune that you're playing and what effect you want. You have to experiment. You have to see what kind of sounds that you can get, where you can get them, how you can get them inside of these patterns. You make that adjustment, and you will. The only way that's going to happen, and sometimes it's very boring. I mean, I'd rather put on a jazz tune and play to the jazz tune or a play along or whatever, and that's cool. That's a whole separate thing. But what you're doing now is you're experimenting, you're going forward, you're discovering, and you just practice and practice and practice. And man, it will come, without a doubt. Okay, is there any questions? Because I'm going to keep continuing on this. Hopefully, you get Randy, you buy the book, Patterns, Series, Time, Functions. I'm doing a lot of work at it here. There's a lot of jazz patterns and concepts that I work on. It's a great book, a tremendous amount of information. Now, Tim, I never seen you here before. I am assuming this is your first time. I did put my email there, and Randy, you did get the sheets on today's lessons. And Tim, if you want the sheets, my email is actually the first comment in the chat. Email me. It's .com, not the. I made a mistake there. Okay. Email me, and I will send you the sheets. Now, hopefully, inside of the email, you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how long you've been playing, what kind of music you'd like to play, and if you practice 8 hours or 10 hours a day. Good. All right, thank you. I mean, I try. But Tim, email me. I'll put you on the mailing list. And before, when I finish the PDFs for the lessons, I will send them to you before I do a live broadcast. Okay, I need to sign off. I will try to make the lessons somewhat longer, starting next week. Depends. I got to talk to YouTube about it. It doesn't cover what I really want to cover. It's very difficult to cover a lesson in a half hour that you want to show, and you're kind of like put in a box here, like limited. Okay, gentlemen, we shall see. Whoever wants to come visit me at my site for the lesson tonight, it's a paid for site. It's $19.95 a month, and it's a different kind of thing than we have going on here. This is more for me networking and helping people. I want to leave it with this: learn how to read. If you don't know how to read, learn. You're only holding yourself back if you don't. Okay, gentlemen. Any questions? Randy, my pleasure. If there are no questions, I will close it up. And if you want to come to my site tonight, it's www.mattpatellalivellessons.com. Again, mattpatellalivellessons.com. Okay, gentlemen. Oh, this was sort of. You're welcome, everybody. Okay. So, I'm off to see the wizard. Thank you. Have a good day.